Okay, class, this video is about how to create a navigation in your WordPress site. So the end product is going to look something like this, that you have your buttons on desktop being horizontal, and then when you go down to tablet, we'll have a responsive hamburger and on mobile. All right, so let's get started. So what it looks like by default, your site at this point, is something like this. All we did was set a background color and a font. Now we need to add our nav bar. So the first thing you need to know is what your pages are going to be. If you know what your pages are going to be, you can go to your Pages tab on your dashboard. Now, by default, I deleted all my pages. You might have a privacy page and a sample page, but you can delete those. We do not need them. So I'm going to add new all my pages. First being home page, and then hit the publish button on the right hand side. I'm going to add another new page. Mine's a restaurant, so I'm going to add a menu page, add another new page. I'm going to do an events page, and then finally I'm going to do a contact page. Actually, I'll change it to order. All right, so if I go to all pages, what you can see here is all my pages are now listed under pages. If you do not see that, you have to add again. You can always delete or edit, not a big deal. Now that our pages are set, what we want to do is tell WordPress which one of these pages is our home page. So we're going to go under Settings, Reading. I'm going to change it, the home page display, from our latest post to a static page called Homepage. Hit Save Changes. Next, I'm going to go to Appearance and Menus. This is how you actually set up your nav bar. Just because you made a page in Pages doesn't mean it's going to show on the website. And you probably wouldn't want every page you made to show on your home page. So we're going to go to Appearance, Menu, and we're going to add in all our menu items into this menu. So I have to View All, I'm going to select all and add to menu. Remember, you can add pages, you could add posts, you could add custom links like Facebook or Twitter, or you could add categories of your posts, which we'll get to a little bit later. I can reorder these by dragging and dropping. You could make drop downs by indenting them in this menu. I don't want anything to have a drop down, so I'm going to just keep this in this order. Make sure you have primary checked. If you don't see that yet, hit save first and then come back and make sure that primary is set. This means that it's the primary menu that's going to be your main navigation. You can have a ton of different menus. You could have a footer nav, a sidebar nav. So WordPress can get super dense if you need it to. So now that I have my menu set, I have it set as primary. I'm going to close that out. I'm done with that page. And I can preview my site. Let's see what it looks like. So you should see your buttons right underneath this kind of faux header here under primary menu. You'll notice that they're small, they're default color, there's bullet points in front of them. We're going to have to make that a little bit prettier. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back now, and I'm going to add some CSS to just start making this menu look aesthetically pleasing. You could go into your FTP, but just for being quick, I'm going to go into our theme editor under my style sheet and work right in here. The dangerous part about working in the theme editor is there's no undo. That's why I wouldn't advise it for new WordPress users. You should go through the FTP and open it in brackets so you have undo. All right, so what I'm going to add here is a couple things. I need to specify what I want this nav to look like. So how I do that is you want to inspect elements. Get used to inspecting elements. Start to feel comfortable with that. It's really needed for WordPress. So I right-clicked or control-clicked and went to inspect elements. And I hit this little arrow in the upper left-hand corner. And then I can kind of scroll around and see what things are called. You'll note that it tells me the name. Like this is an H1, and it's also a class called entry title. I want to know what this is called, these 4 buttons, and I know what it's called, but there it is. It's called primary menu or menu or nav menu. So now that I know that, I can go into my theme and I can call it out and say primary menu. I'm going to add some flexbox to this. To space it out. I'm going to give it a width, 75%, and margin auto to center. Update file, and then you can come back and do a hard refresh by holding Shift on the keyboard and hitting the refresh button. Looking good. A couple more things we can do is just add list style, none, so we get rid of those. And then I could start thinking about what I want my buttons to look like. So in the primary menu, there's a list item A. Again, you can inspect to find this out. So I gave it some color and font size, and also I got rid of the underline. There we go. I would add hovers and kind of just make this look how we would want it to be. All right, now we need to add our responsive menu. So I'm going to use this as a plugin. So let's go to plugins. And we're going to add a new plugin. And I'm going to search for responsive menu. I'm going to use this one right here. I've been using this one for the class. So responsive menu, create mobile-friendly menu. There's a ton of others that you can experiment with. Feel free. So I'm going to install this one and then activate it. It's going to make a new dashboard menu item. So it's going to show up right over here in your dashboard after you activate. The reason I like this responsive menu, it has tons of options that you can specify. So you can say when you want the mobile menu to start. So by default, it's going to say, oops, there we go. By default, it's going to say 8,000. Well, that's meaning the mobile will be on all the time. If that's what you want, you can set it that way. I'm going to set it for when it hits mobile. So I'm going to set that at 900 for my main nav bar. And then you want to, it's asking what you want to hide. So you don't want two nav bars. You don't want your desktop nav and your responsive web. So you want to hide that original menu, which in our case is the primary menu. I'm going to update my options by hitting that blue button. And then I'm going to do a hard refresh. So here on desktop, we have our original navigation. And then when we hit 900, we go down to our hamburger. Looks good. There's tons of options to look at through here, like what your container would look like, what's in it. You can add your logo to the slide out bar. You could add a search bar if you wanted to, any additional content. You can really customize this. The size, the colors, the fonts. Feel free to take your time and go option by option to really make it match your website. When I'm done, I'll just hit Update Options, and we're ready to go. So that is how you start your nav bar in WordPress.